How's it going, ScrubGamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and today we're starting some more discussion videos, and this week we're going to be going over the set 17 decks in different colours, and also with just the colours in general for the Echo meta. So today we're going over the set 17 red decks, and also going to talk a little bit about some of the red decks that have still survived the ban list and are going over that could be quite good for the quite strong for the meta, and some things to probably look out for. But before we do get into the video, I do also want to say feel free to like the video if you do enjoy it and you like this thing coming from me. Also comment down below anything you want to comment below, if it's already on a video, what you want to see from me or anything about anything really. And also if you are not subscribed, feel free to subscribe. It keeps you updated with my videos as when they drop if you do enjoy them, and by clicking the notification bell you do get alerts when my videos do drop. And also on if you do want to follow on my Facebook, that's where I put my content schedule up to let people know when I'm going to be dropping videos every week on a weekly basis. So let's get in the video and talk about set 17 red decks. So for set 17, for red, for every color apart from black, we get two different leaders. Sometimes it's like one side is good, one side is bad, and in this case for red it is. Because we on one side we've got the Goku GT, which then flips over to Goku, Pan, and Trunks, the Space Adventurers. And on the other side we've got Dr. Mew and Helper Rilldo, the rulers of Planet M2. And as well as this, it's quite an interesting one for red. I feel like red's in an interesting spot. Like, it's doing quite well, but it has got one of his leaders, probably one of his best leaders, or like, as most people from what I saw on Facebook, hyped up as being the best leader, being King Piccolo. Got nerfed by the potentially nerfed, like hit quite hard with the ban list, and that's opened up a little bit more for red to try different things. Like, we still have some good leaders that were with it that have come out, like for set 16. But I feel like with this set, we do get some interesting leaders. Like, I feel like the Rilldo one is a more casual one, and the Trunks is going to be the more competitive one at 2. But let's go and have a look at it and discuss it. So we'll start off with Realdo, because it's probably my favourite. Realdo is probably one of my favourite characters from Dragon Ball GT, because for this archetype, for this set, the saga that these leaders come from is the Black Star Dragon Ball saga, from when a switch is made with the Black Star Dragon Balls. It goes off, and then Pan, Trunks, and Goku then set off in a spaceship to go and find the balls, bring them back to prevent Earth from being destroyed, and capture some interesting characters like Dr. Mew and M2 and Rilldo. And for this side, Realdo is basically, it is essentially a reboot leader, because we haven't seen any Realdo and Mew stuff since set 3, and that was ages ago, 14 sets ago, a few years ago, and we haven't seen something until now, so it's taken a while to get more support for it. But we finally do have Realdo on the leader as well, with hyper meta Realdo too. And I'd say it's a rebuild of the old leader, because with the old leader, it was on either side, you got the free play a machine mutant with a certain amount of level power. So on the front side it had to be 5k, on the other one it had to be 10k or less. And this is basically an upgrade, because when it attacks on either side, you get to play a red machine mutant with energy cost of 1 from your hand. So like just the same with the old one. It's quite small guys you play, but you play them for free. But there's no draw like the leader. But when you awaken, there is a chance to get some draw, because if you activate Evolve and Unison Orb, you get the draw 1, and that's what most of the chains for this involves. Because for this deck, the chains are more the Sigma Squad, which is from GT, which we'll see now. It's the Sigma Squad being Nazi, Bizu, and Reboot going into the Super Sigma, and this also helps trigger your Alternative Awakening condition as well. So this leader, unfortunately I didn't have the front side, I probably should put that in, is if there's an Alternative Awakening rather than awakening at 4 or less life, you could take 3 cards from the Super Sigma on your board, put them on your lead, and flip yourself over, while also taking your life down to 6 if you're higher than 6 as. And that is nice because it gives you fuel for your activate battle, which allows you to place 1 card from underneath it to gain 5k for the battle, so you can use it defensively or offensively, and it just gives a nice way to awaken without having to wait till your opponent puts you to 4 life, or you use whatever sources, put yourself to full life, which is quite nice. And as well, it gives you deck fin as well, and these are like gadgets. So if you don't know what I mean by gadgets, it's because I started off playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Originally when I played card games, and that's where a lot of my references come from. And these remind me of the gadgets from there being the red, yellow, and green gadgets, which are cards for when you play one, you get such another one from your deck to your hand of a different color. So like in this case, Nezi when played will search Bizu, Bizu will search as Ribbit, and Ribbit searches for Nezi. And then you put them all together using Nezi's Unison skill to go into Super Sigma and then start the Self Awakening. And not only that, but you can use the Super Sigma to start like evolve, change into Rilldo as well, because not only just the Sigma squad that is it's part of the archetype and the like evolve chain and Unison stuff. There's also the Rildo chain starting off with 1-drops going into 5, going into 7s, which is quite interesting. So you've got 5, and just like with most, like I see with red and green seem to be the colours which are more archetype focused for the decks. Like I see with U7 Goku and Jiren, it's all about like different like a heavy archetype with some spots for generic good cards in that colour. And then we've got like blue and yellow being the more generic good stuff, put with one of the best leaders or a certain leader to function. And then black is just black being like the tech stuff, and it was only like only after a while I think getting to set 8 I would say. Yeah, set 8 when it had its own actual colour identity with like just mono black decks, like starting off I think with Demigra, and then with into Hatjack and stuff, and then going from there. And yeah, so with this leader, it's very archetype focused with the Sigma. You got the Sigma squad, you got the Realdo chains, and you got the good red leader, right? Good stuff. And this is quite nice because it gives you deck finning, which, as most of you know, deck finning is deck winning. Because the more you fin your deck, the easier it is to find what you're looking for and get the cards you need to get your finish and stuff like that. And then we do have the Roller Chain, as I said. It does have one of the big boss, and it does have some of the old stuff as well. The only issue with some of the old stuff is where it's so old, like set 3, and then I think around set, I can't remember when first anniversary box came out. I think it might have been set. That's quite old anyway. And while that does offer support to the old leaders, it's not as great, and nothing's really transferable that's useful. Maybe I think the only thing being probably Planet M2, which functions with this quite well. And this is a really nice boss card for this as well, because you can get out the 5-drop quite easily, and if 1 energy evolve into this, and then have yourself a 30k double striker, but has barriers, so it's hard to interact with, and can also put yourself out of harm's way really using activate battle on your opponent's turn by taking a card from underneath it, restanding it. It does lose 5k power, but it is an active mode to keep it out of harm's way, or even use it as a blocker for yourself as well. And it's a nice way to finish with a big, nice barrier double strike attacker as well. And I feel this is quite nice, but I do feel it is, the reason why I feel it's kind of casual is because it's very archetype focused, and the archetype isn't 2 bits in a sense. Like it isn't like there's no real clear like strategy with some things. You understand, like most decks like this, you understand what your plays are going from like turn 1 to turn 2 to 3, what your energy curve, like energy plays are, what your turn plays supposed to look like. With this deck, especially since in the same set, the Unison we got was a baby Unison that's a special class of 3, and it doesn't really go in with like how you want to progress your turn with the Unison orbs and stuff like that as well, and the way to awaken earlier. So I feel it's going to be quite casual. I will kind of try to see if I can take it to events and see if I can do well with it, but I feel it's going to be more casual compared to the other red decks, especially to Goku as well. And speaking of Goku, we have the other side being Goku GT, when being heavily, this is one like, we're in the Unison Warrior block still. This is the last one of it, so you can out with a bang, and this set actually seems quite good with quite a few different decks, leaders and stuff. Like with the last set, Realm of the Gods, we got some pretty nice decks, pretty good ones from there, and which is a nice refreshing take after the sets before that, the last 2 sets before that being a bit trash and not much good come out of it. But with this one, it's very nice, and it's focused more around a Unison as well. Like it's got a heavy Unison focus, because when you start the game, you get this Spaceship Vassal of Hope when you start with 1 marker on it, and then you can accumulate a ton of markers on it, because the whole point of the archetype is putting cards under your Unison to keep them safe and add more markers to Unison, but also replacing them from your hand by drawing, and amassing a ton of markers on Unison to keep it around because your focus is based on it. And the cards you put under your Unison are not lost because they can be played out from underneath it, giving yourself essentially a second hand and a lot more advantage. And the good thing about having this Unison down turn 1 is that once you get to your turn 1, you're getting quite a few markers on it. I think you get up to 6 markers you can get onto it quite easily, depending on what you have. And that means, like, from turn 1 you have Yamcha versus Barrage live, which is a really nice thing to have. And Yamcha has gotten a lot better since it first released, because it was probably considered the worst one out of the lot when we first got him, because of how its counterplay works. It's more of a counter window 2 card, which people are realizing after understanding the counter windows a lot more, because some people do have trouble still with counter window 1 and 2 and how things play out. People are understanding more that Yamcha is actually a really nice one for red, as long as you know when to use it in the correct window. And also as well, speaking of this 8-drop next to it as well, being like the big boss card of the deck, that not including the old secret Rift set 3, which is also supports with the leader side with its second and bit main. This is a really nice one, not just for the archetype, but generically for red, I feel, because red, when it interacts with Unisons, is all about given markers, which is what you wouldn't expect really from red. I wouldn't expect that for red, but red's connection with Unisons is all about adding markers to them, which is quite cool. And this one helps very nice with it's got 3 activate mains. And the last one allows you to, once per turn, because it's got limit 1, allows you to put itself from your hand or battle area under a red Unison card you have that's 10k or more power, to add a marker to it. So you can just add this from your hand to add a marker to it, so it's a free add marker, and then it's safe under Unison, ready to play whenever you like, as soon as you get the turn 4. And I say that because his activate main is for free red energy if you have 4 more energy. Play this card from under the Unison card. So essentially you can on turn 3 put this under Unison card to give it an extra marker to make it survive a lot easier, and then once you get to your next turn, turn 4, pay 3 red, play it from under Unison, and have a 30k attacker, and then at the end of the turn, well, before you end your turn, you can then put it from your battle area back under it, add another marker to it to keep your Unison healthy, which is very nice and very fun. And it's definitely something I'm going to be picking up, not for this deck, I might pick up this deck, I'm not sure, but for Freezer Prison to just keep Unisons live, and given the restriction on that, being a 5k 8-drop that can add marks to Unison and be safe on the Unison, is quite a nice thing for that deck, and I want to try and bring that back as well. But yeah, it's a really good card, not just for the archetype, but for red in general, which is a more beneficial thing. The archetype is really interesting, because you're just constantly putting cards under your leader, under Unison, that replace themselves, add marks to Unison to keep a Unison healthy, and have second hand under your Unison. And not only that, but it does have some good extra cards as well. Being a red set means it has access to King Vegeta's Imposing Presence, which is a very good red extra card. And even being red, it also has interesting and very strong negates like After Image, Violent Rays, things like that, and even Wolfang Fist, given that it's a Unison focused strategy. And so it has some very good things to defend itself and support itself. And not only that, but it does have difference in status, which normally is like an alright kind of counter attack, but in this deck can be very strong, dealing with any big boss or finisher your opponent tries to come at you with, because the is a counter attack with your Spirit Boost X, meaning you can pay any amount of markers. You can pay 0 markers if you want to, or you can play 1. You can play as many as you want to, as long as you got, like, depending on what you've got in Unison really. And all you need is your leader to be on a red. And basically what it does, it chooses one of your opponent's cards, and note that's just card, be a leader, Unison battle card, and you minus it 5k. And then if you remove the marker from your red Unison, using this skill, you get to choose one of your opponent's cards, being either the same card or a different card, and minus that by 5k power for each marker you took off. And since you can amass a ton of markers on your Unison, you can potentially wipe out something that's got 40k with this before it even gets to the combo step, which is crazy. Which is like taking something down with 40k power by just removing 8 markers. That's like nothing. Like if you remove 8 markers when you use them normally by the turn when your opponent's going to be dropping something like 40k, you're not going to be stuck with left with at least like 6 markers, maybe a little bit less, but still you can have a ton of markers. It's going to be very hard to remove it, because the really only things that remove your Unison at the moment is, I'm trying to really think now. There's not many. There's at least like there's mostly secret rare options that I get to remove them, and that is things like the SB Vegeta, but that doesn't get rid of it permanently, just puts it in the drop and you can just get it back out your drop after that if they use a Vegeta, and that's mainly used in U7 Goku. And then there's the Kai secret rare, and while that's a more generic secret rare, that just existing means you need to run at least 2 of the Unison, because while you start off with 1, if you're only running 1, because you start off with it, if your opponent is playing Kai and drops the Kai and removes your Unison because it warps it, you're then basically screwed out your strategy, because you no longer have all those cards under your in the Unison to use for free. You no longer have your Unison about to make use of all your skills to play things cheaper, and you just struggle from there. So you always need to run 2 Unisons, so if your opponent is running the secret rare Kai, you have a backup one just in case they do drop it and remove it. And that's it for the set 17 red decks. I feel like, yeah, I do feel like the Goku GT deck is probably going to be the more competitive one, and then with the Rilldo, that's going to be more of a casual one. But then there are other red decks that aren't King Piccolo that did survive the ban list and are still going to be good coming into the next set. And the main 3 I could find from, because I did have a little bit of a look, and the main 3 I could find that I've seen and really are doing still well are normally U7 Goku, because we only got a set ago. Red Jiren is still about and still very strong deck, and even got a bit more support in a TP. And then we got Launch, which is probably like a great one, especially for people who enjoy deck building as well. So starting off with U7 Goku, this is a very good one, and feels to me a bit like Lice one from Yu-Gi-Oh! So once again, a never Yu-Gi-Oh! Reference. And Lice one was a deck where you milled yourself to, you basically the deck build itself, and that in a sense put cards in the drop to fulfill conditions for your cards to play that like have cheaper and stronger plays. And that's the same for this, because you have cards like Android 17, Golden Frieza, and Goku, Son of Mastery, which are cards that you can play very cheap, like they could all play for 1 energy, because like say the Goku's permanent and the activate main on the other 2 allows you to play for 1 energy, so very cheap plays are very strong and decent power to put pressure on. And this deck does mill itself, because it's on its front side, it's got a burst effect, burst free, to then draw 1 and then discard 1 to help you get up your sparking. And you need sparking because, as you see, with some skills like on the double strike for Android 17, the dual attack for Golden Frieza, and the permanent on Goku to reduce its cost, they all have sparking. So you need 7. You need sparking being a certain number of cards in your drop area, equal to the number that is on the sparking. So sparking 7 means you have 7 cards in your drop to fulfill these conditions to have them active. So in this case, you have you need 7 cards in the drop for Android 17 to have double strike, for Golden Frieza dual attack, and for Goku to be played as a 1 cost. And so you have all these cheap plays and very good ways to aggress, and you can pivot between being aggressive or being control, which is nice. It's a nice take with this deck, and is once again another red deck that has a heavy focus on like a large archetype. So while you're doing the whole milling stuff, you're like just basically allowing your plays to be cheaper, more effective, and not only that, but you also have access to other interesting things. Like where you're milling yourself, you have a better use of a super combo in Frieza, because with the leader's effect, you can awaken at a higher life total, because it's got an auto awake condition where you're just going to need 7 U7 in drop, and you can awaken with higher life, which means that this Frieza goes really well with it, because of the fact that it's got sparking 5 that fills auto, which means you need 5 cards in drop, and that allows you to have a super combo life, just out combo big, like if you need a 10k combo, and to draw, while also keeping your high life total, so you can not worry about too much about taking damage or your opponent trying to aggress you, like other decks need to do. And then you've got access to some interesting cards, like with the deck as well, where you can play quite long into the game. Most people are going for 3 specified cost Unisons in U7 Goku, because you've got some very powerful ones in Jiren to help with the power minusing, and as well as that you have things like Sin. And Vidal's a very nice one because unlike Yamcha, it can get around Deflect, which is very strong because Deflect basically means the card is unaffected by counterplay skills, whereas Vidal gets around that because its effect minus is in his auto, and only works with if you've got a specified cost Unison of 3 or more. So it's very great, it's very nice in that. And it goes very well in the Jiren to help -10 from the Jiren effect to -10 on something that gets played and it gets to choose. And then Vidal can minus it by 20 going through Deflect. So if your opponent stop draw something with Deflect, like say a big boss card doesn't have barrier, you can use Vidal and Jiren to go through it to minus it down to 30k, not worry as well. And why it's only got 10k, it's not an issue because you may be comboing off after. It's mainly there because it minusing by 20 is better than Yamcha's minus by 15, and it's not shut down by Deflect. And as well, a thing with this deck is when you're milling yourself out, use Susceptible Tool to mill. And there's a very good negate in Oceanus from the Cell Zeno deck that is good around, that helps. Normally would shut down this deck when it attacks, just drop the Oceanus, then they have to more 4 per turn, and that shuts down more of the U7 Goku than most decks, really, because of the fact that it draws so much through milling itself out and drawing that it sometimes just ends turn. But players like to adapt and find ways to get around things that hinder the deck. So Vegeta Resolved from I think the original draft box, no, not draft box, anniversary box, is a nice tech that people use. So once you get turn 3, if people try to drop an Oceanus stuff on them, they use this to basically just stop it from even hitting the board, to put in that floodgate effect, and so they can continue your turn for 1 energy as well, and then have themselves a 5k combo, which is very good. So there's some nice, really good techs in there as well that people are able to use. And as well as that, we also have some big boss cards. So it's got Son Goku Ultra Mastery as one of its main big boss cards, and its secret rare choice most of the time is SSB Vegeta and Brother Power. Now this is a very big guy because it's 40k, and if you get 25 cards in your drop, you then give it dual attack and triple strike. Now you're thinking that's a very good finisher. Dropping a 40k dual attacking triple strike is amazing, and not only that, but when it's played by its activate main for 4 energy, you get to minus your leaders down by 5k. Now it might seem like a wet dream, but most times when people play this, they're not really attacking with it, because it can be a massive powerhouse. Most decks now, given that U7's been a strong deck in the meta since its release, people have been finding ways to deal with the deck in quite a nice way. And normally if you attack in black, you get hit by petrification, meaning you can negate the skills and it's removed the next turn. Same with yellow, with being Final Flash. You use Final Flash, so you can't use the second activate skill to wipe your board, and then you just get it in the next turn. Blue just gets bottom decked by the Boo Unison, because most blue decks run the Boo Unison. And then you've got green, incorporating things like the Cocoons to negate the attack, pop it, and that can't be stopped by Vegeta because it's a 20k, not 15k. So most of the time when this Vegeta is used, it's just being played and then straight away used to wipe your opponent's board. But it's not too bad if you don't have a board. But since this guy can amass quite a wide board for cheap in the earlier turns, you can use this then to drop, manage your opponent's lead by 5k, wipe the board, and then continue to attack with the board you already had. And it's a very effective strategy. And is always accessible as well, because there's no fear about milling it, because you can grab back with your leaders at second activate main, whereas when you've got Sparking 20, you can grab back from your drop area once a game. Use that skill once a game. Or if you draw into it, you just got all you got to hope for that it's not in your life, or dig for your life to get it. And then we've got Goku Ultra Mastery. This is a card that makes it fearful for any deck to want to try and establish a board that doesn't have barrier against this deck, because when it's played with its activate main for 4 energy, you're not only dropping a 35k double strike dual attacker, you're also minusing their board by 35k. So unless they got barrier on their stuff, they're losing it. So it's hard to amass a board against this deck. By the time you get to turn 4, they just wipe it and then put some pressure on you back. And it does have a good auto when it attacks, as long as you've got Sparking 20. It looks at your opponent's hand and rips a card from your hand that is 7 cost or less, meaning while things like Baby Hatch are safe, it can rip anything else that can either hinder you, that they want to take out for your next turn, or to stop you from killing, for that you want to use to stop them killing you next turn, in that turn. So yeah, it's a very strong card. It's I think when it started off it was played at 4, but people have been using it, relying on it less because you can board and just overall win with advantage, but still very good card nonetheless. And also you have after image technique. So most of the old sparking negates with set 5 were just power crept out by the token negates, but after image has a niche use in decks like this, because where you're awakening with high life total, you can use this to help defend attacks like from your leader, from your Unison, with like a double striker, and also not worry about using energy because you can use it for free because you'll be awakening at like 8 or more life, 8 life, or like 6, mostly higher than 6. And that is it for U7 Goku, being a very strong deck as most people already know. But another one we have is Red Jiren. Now this is one that came out, where it came out in one of the sets that wasn't great. It was looked upon, but then like King Piccolo just stayed higher than it because it's a lot more effective. But since King Piccolo's gone, I imagine most people will like rotate to U7 Goku. But Red Jiren is never a good one. I even got a bit more support as well, because it got this new Jiren here, this Jiren tempered form you see right next to him. And so with the whole thing with Jiren, the Jiren deck is all about Jiren. So it's all about attacking with Jiren, evolving Jiren, playing Jirens to just use Jiren to win. And it starts off with like little 1-drops you bring out from when he's young, and then he gets higher and higher, and like higher forms he gets evolving into his big boy like final form when he's older. And before in the deck you would normally run 4 of each of these, but then we only had the first 2, the first of Power and Jiren as the draw and as the cantrip Jiren and the Searcher Jiren to keep the strategy going. And then you would have more options for the to have more chunks of the leader's awake front side of taking a life to look at top 7 to play 1-drop use 11, that's red. And before you would have things like Kunchi, which allow you to draw, just to have that, just have another target for it. But now you get this Jiren, it also has the opportunity to draw. You either draw or you play a Topper Unison from your hand. But it doesn't add too much to the deck, but it adds enough in the fact that it does the same thing Kunchi does, which is play a 1-drop U11 target and draw 1. But now it's not only that, but it's also a Jiren target, so it's never Jiren to help further your evolve plays. So this is kind of a prime example of a great way to essentially boost an old archetype from a TP, which Bandai should probably do more of. It's something that adds something useful to the deck and helpful to the strategy, but not too much. So it does the same thing as Kunchi, but it adds a benefit to it in the fact it's a Jiren, which is greatly appreciated. And it's not just the 1-drop, so you don't have the evolution targets being the 4-drop, the 5-drop, and the 7-drop. The ones you keep, as he keeps going up, it gets stronger and stronger. And the nice thing about this is the 8-drop, which you use to help like kind of push even more aggressively on turn 3, is also your barrier removal. So having that built in is fantastic, and a great card like Jiren 5-drop. Having that built-in protection for if your opponent tries to remove it is great. Will also be the dual attack. It just adds extra pressure to a repressive red deck. And not only that, but the great thing is, as you're evolving your battle cards to get stronger and stronger and better, you're also boosting your leader, making it stronger. And even with the 8-drop, you can make your leader a 30k swing, but because when you activate main, restand it, attack again with a 35k double. You're also boosting your leader by 5k, and if you evolve at least twice, it's by 25 anyway, making it even stronger, which is nice. They're just very good aggression. And the nice combo is, the nice thing with this deck is you don't have to worry about, like, you do have, as you see with the leader, having a Spirit Boost skill to evolve on your opponent's turn, but with this deck, as shown by Eddie on Team Foe in America, he showed that you don't really need to have a Unison in play. Like, a Unison is vital to the strategy. It's just a good thing to have. Like, you can have it, you don't have to have it. It's not needed to make the strategy run, but if you have it, it does have its benefits. So you can run this, like I've seen people run it with the, I used to run it with the Piccolo Junior Super Unison. People have run it with no Unison, and people like me who run it with the Topper Unison. Like, you can run it either way you want. It's just not, like, it depends down to you. But the good thing is, if you do run the Topper Unison, it does have a little bit of benefit with Jiren, being the nice little combo if you do it turn 1, the finest Jiren. You can then play the topper from hand for free without using energy, and that energy is openly use your 5-drop to help defend yourself easier, especially protect Unison, and have that then be able to do 2 5-drop Jirens on your turn 1 while having Unison out on your turn 2 while having Unison out the player added pressure, which is nice to have the interesting play. And this is definitely one I'm good playing, and also taken to UKGE. And then we have launch. So launch, I didn't go into a few extra slides with different cards because this is the deck builder's dream. It is the kind of leader where you can play it in any way you want, and it's just you're rewarded by how you build the deck. Because you can play it mono red, you can play it red blue, you can play it red green, you can play it red yellow, you can play it however you want. It is a very good lead that doesn't require too much of a engine and it can gain you a lot of advantage. Like some people play it red green because you got Piccolo, you got the Nap super combo that allows you to troll with this leader when you use it as well, also using it twice. And also you have the Piccolo Eradicator piece for a very strong green yellow card. And then you have things like red blue, giving yourself the coolest strategy for that arrival as well, and also giving having the option to try and put Invoker in if you want to as well, because you've got the Rival Seeker and the 6-drop you can go into. And not only that, but you can also try mono red is still a good point, good way to play it because you got all these good red tech cards, and as well as that you can go for one that's not really used that much is red yellow. I'm not sure what benefit it gives you, but it is an interesting one, another option to play, go with. And there are some dedicated launch players as well, as seen especially in the EU as well. And then we come down to the last bit of the video, being the red tech cards. Now red has a lot of good tech cards, like some really nice ones, and they help deal with certain situations. Like sometimes when I'm building a red deck and look at the different red cards I can put aside, I'm just sometimes overwhelmed with what cards to put in. But because it does have a lot, like you got testing opposition here, but every color has testing opposition. Having token negate, it's nice that we have every color, even black having it now. But you have things like Shu King Piccolo's Underling, which is a nice counterplay for things that are 5-drop less. And you do have some floodgates that are like Oceanus that are 5k. You can use this for 1 energy to stop, and earlier than turn 3 if you want to as well. And there's even nice tech for against things like Android 16 if they want to do the 2-drop to ramp. You can use the 4 energy to stop that. So you paid half the energy they did, stop their card, play a 1-drop 5k. That then is combo power for your next turn and stop them from ramping. And you have things like Kaioken being generic red barrier removal that every red deck can use, or mostly every red deck. Just rip freeze prison. And it's very cheap and easy, and this is nice to have things like that because every deck needs barrier removal. And you got other things like Broly Crown being good to help deal with floodgates, being nice red cards. You got good extra negates and extra cards like Frieza's Death Ball, Wolfang Fist, Union focuses some really good Unisons as well. Like red is some of the best Unisons, especially like Vegito Unison Might and stuff like that. Red has a lot of good tech cards that mean that there is potential that you could go into a good good card dot deck for red. But most of the time it is like the better decks are with the archetype focus. But that's been it for me today. So I'm gonna go next. As I said, we're gonna go in color order. So tomorrow will be we'll talk about blue, and people know that is my least favorite color in the game. So I will try and be as optimistic about it, and I will try and be truthful as I can. But that is it from me today. I hope you enjoyed it. As said at the beginning of the video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one tomorrow. Bye for now.